All right, let's take a closer look now at Clinton's economic speech and policy proposals with Robert Moran, a partner with the Brunswick Group right here in Washington. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, Robert, for you, what were some of the key takeaways in Clinton's economic speech?
Well, politics is the art of the possible. So when you look at this, in reality, both plans are largely political fiction. They have to get through the House and Senate. What happens with the House and Senate? We don't know, but today, it looks like the Senate flips Democratic and the House stays Republican. If the House stays Republican, her plans are largely DOA.
So basically, at this point, they're saying what they need to kind of garner that support, but in reality, Congress may just shut it all down.
That's correct. I mean, these are largely political documents at this point. To me, the largest finding is that, or the largest takeaway, is that both parties have stepped away from free trade, from their historic support for free trade. Hillary Clinton is afraid that Donald Trump will get to her left on free trade, and just like her concern with Bernie Sanders, she wants to make sure that that does not happen. And historically, this is news. Both parties at the end of World War II generally supported free trade deals, and they're backing away from that because of the populist impulse within their own parties.
So then with that being said, obviously a lot of talk about TPP. Clinton very clearly said she will not support it. So what's been the reaction then from the global community on that stance?
Well, I think there's some skepticism. It's hard, I think, for people in the global diplomatic and business community to believe that Hillary Clinton, who was Secretary of State and was supportive of TPP, would actually step away from that. However, I think they're savvy enough to understand our own political environment, and they realize that the U.S. may be actually stepping away from support for free trade deals that largely help the United States. I mean, the sad thing is, they're really debating about the 20th century, not the 21st. Workers aren't going to lose their jobs to foreign workers. They're going to lose their jobs to robots and algorithms, and that's the 21st century. But we're still dealing with 20th century politicians.
And speaking of 20th century, we're also dealing with closing corporate and Wall Street tax loopholes for Clinton, and there's also this exit tax for corporate inversion for these companies who are trying to avoid paying U.S. taxes by having their legal entities basically based overseas. So how are Clinton's policies then being received by the business community?
Well, I think businesses are largely pragmatic. They understand the situation. Right now, if you take a look at large business, they assume that Hillary Clinton will win, and I think that's a safe assumption because her opponent is imploding. So if they assume she's going to win, and they assume that the House and Senate are up for grabs, they would politically support her for access, and then hope for a Republican House as a blocker for this. On the inversion issue, it's a complex issue. The Obama administration has been dealing with it. It's a place where you can play a populist edge, but the global business community is a very complex place when it comes to tax policy.
Now, and speaking of tax policies, we see that Clinton is proposing this fair share surcharge on millionaires and billionaires in order to fund some of these initiatives. Where is that going to go? Nowhere.
I mean, assuming that the House stays Republican, and the House would stay Republican because of gerrymandering, to be blunt, right? Assuming the House stays Republican, these kind of millionaire surcharges are DOA, but they're good politics. They help her, and if her team assumes that she wins, but the House stays Republican, it's something she can use against them in the midterms, and I think that's what this is about.
And Robert, I also want to get to your thoughts on Clinton saying she'll be tougher on Wall Street and these financial institutions. She's the biggest single beneficiary of hedge fund donations. How does that play out?
Well, if you go back historically, it's actually quite funny. I mean, Bill Clinton reoriented the Democratic Party to a pro-business or more pro-business party, and he was Wall Street's darling. And Hillary Clinton has benefited from that. I think she realizes that she has a very big potential liability with this, and she's trying to find any way to step back from that and not have that used against her in Ohio, in Florida, in Virginia.
And just lastly, in terms of the implications for everyday Americans, she did hit on a lot of issues. Do you think this will really play well with everyday Americans?
I think the issue really comes down to who is not Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton is a historically weak candidate. 54% of Americans have a negative opinion of her. But 64% of Americans have a negative opinion of Donald Trump. So the entire Team Clinton plan right now will be to drive up Donald Trump's negatives so that he cannot win. And that's the bottom line. But if you look at her economic policies, I think some of those will be broadly acceptable to the middle class. I'm sure that they've been focus grouped to death.
I'm sure.
And her education policies are, I think, headed in the right place. In the 21st century, everybody knows that we need to make much larger investments in reskilling and upskilling, and that's where she's headed, and I think that's helpful.
Well, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it there. Still a few months to go, obviously, till the elections, but thank you so much for your insights, Robert Moran, partner at the Brunswick Group.
Thank you.